Michael Sapienza. I'm the CEO of the Colorectal Cancer Alliance. First of all, thank you all for joining us. Special thank you to Marisa Reagan and the team for helping put this on, and to all of our donors and supporters who have joined us for this kind of exclusive chat with Craig Melvin from the Today Show, longtime supporter and ally of the Alliance, and Trey Mancini of Baltimore Orioles, also a patient and Never Too Young board member. Thank you guys for joining us. I don't know, Josh, maybe we can start with this poll question, the first poll question to get us started. And then Craig, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Why am I the only one wearing a mask?
I don't know. Are you outside with a bunch of people or something, or what?
No, I was told that we were going to be wearing masks, but now it's weird. So I'll take my mask off.
Okay.
Trey, how's it going, brother?
Good. How are you doing?
You look great. How you feeling?
I feel good. So I'm in an off week right now. So my last treatment was 9 days ago. So after about 4 or 5 days, I start to really feel better, get my appetite back. And then I have about 9 or 10 good days until I go back for the next treatment. So yeah, feeling pretty good right now.
For folks who haven't been following your story, sort of bring us up to speed. How did you find out what was going on, and what's the prognosis?
So during spring training this year, back in March, we do physicals every year, pretty extensive physicals, and my iron levels came back really low, and they thought it might have been just a wonky test, and they retested it and it came back even lower. It was like a week and a half later than the original one. So we thought that I had a stomach ulcer or celiac disease, was pretty much the guess, somebody my age. So, because I was 27 at the time, about to turn 28. And then they scheduled an endoscopy and colonoscopy for me, luckily, just to be safe, because my father actually had colon cancer, stage 2 back in 2011. And then I woke up from the colonoscopy, and the doctor told me he found a malignant tumor in my colon, and just couldn't believe it. Everything I'd been told up to that point was that you don't have to worry about this until you're 50 years old, and that's when you start getting colonoscopies and getting screened. But obviously there's been a big uptick on the younger population too for this disease, and it's tough. For everybody to go get colonoscopies at a younger age, but I obviously highly recommend it after going through what I did, and it was tough, but I've been handling it well and handling it in stride.
How old are you again, Trey?
20. I turned 28 in March.
28. And your father, obviously, I mean, you mentioned your dad. Was there anybody else in the family that had a history, or?
I believe he had an uncle that had it too. So my dad was 58 when he got diagnosed with it. So he had an uncle, and I think maybe a great aunt too. Somebody reached out to me through 23andMe, actually, saw my story and said that she was like a relatively distant relative, but we had a great aunt in common, and I believe she passed away from colon cancer too, and I had no idea. So yeah, when it runs through your family, especially, it's such a good idea to start getting screened in your 20s.
Where are you getting your treatment?
So I'm at Johns Hopkins for my treatments. I can't say enough about the treatment I've gotten there and the staff there. It's been incredible.
And how many treatments have you had so far?
I've had 7 so far and 5 to go. So 2 months from yesterday will be my last treatment.
And before that, I mean, symptoms, like were you feeling some sort of way, or had you?
Crazy part, the scary part about this is I really wasn't. I was feeling a little more tired than normal. I was kind of getting gassed after I take about 10 swings in the batting cage. I'd get pretty tired, but I just kind of chalked it up to getting a little bit older, and it wasn't anything that concerned me. I just, kind of thought it was just something that was happening. And then that was the only, if you Google colon cancer, nothing that comes up. I didn't experience any of that. So it was just a little bit of fatigue. And that's about it.
How'd the doctor tell you?
So I woke up from the colonoscopy, and he basically listed everything that it wasn't. So we were expecting celiac disease, stomach ulcer, and a couple other things. And he told me about the operation, what he did, and was, just kind of going through the details of what he was doing. And then by the end, and through the process of elimination, even before he said it, I pretty much knew that he was about to tell me that I had colon cancer, because that was the only thing left. So it was surreal. And luckily my girlfriend had just flown down like that at that moment. She had just gotten to the doctor's office, and she was there by my side whenever he told me. So it helped having her there, especially. But it was tough. She had to call my parents, and I grew up about an hour and a half from Sarasota, where I was at the time when I got diagnosed. So it was really tough, and seeing your parents after getting the news was really hard too.
What did you think, like when the doctor finally got to that diagnosis, when he had ruled everything else out?
Yeah, I was shocked. I really was, even though there was some family history. Again, I was pretty much told that at 27 years old, it wasn't really a concern of ours. So I was shocked, and then I knew I had to accept it as a reality really quickly. And then my next thought was, I hope it hasn't spread anywhere else outside of my colon. So we immediately went and got a CT scan right from there. So, and luckily that preliminarily showed that it hadn't spread to any of my other organs or anything like that. So we knew it was probably stage 2 or 3 at that point. And it ended up being stage 3. We found that out a few days after my surgery in March.
What's been the response from the Orioles? What's been the response from your teammates?
It's been incredible. Especially it's been a little strange during COVID. I haven't really been able to go up there and see them too much, since I'm in the compromised group, and they're really trying to be careful about containing all the players during this time. So I've had a bunch of Zoom calls with them. I talk to them all the time, and they're incredible, and they've supported me so much. And one of my teammates' wives actually came up with the fight hashtag. It's hashtag the word fight, but the 16 are the ing. So it was really cool that she did that, and that helped inspire the t-shirts that we just released about a month ago.
I mean, looking back on it over the last few months, like were there little things, here or there, besides you getting fatigued after a few swings in the cage? Were there other things like with your body that you think back on, you're like, oh, maybe that was something?
No, that's the crazy part. Not really. I think in the off season, there were a few times where during my workouts, I just wasn't getting through them like I normally did. By all accounts, I thought I should have, I was in good shape and everything, but I was having a really hard time getting through, especially like some sprints and stuff like that. I would get tired easier for sure. And it was obviously because my iron levels were just so depleted, and I had no idea. But again, it wasn't to the point where I was really concerned. So it's easy to look back and kind of wish that I would have said something. But when I really think about it, it wasn't anything that really struck me as concerning at the time.
How did you get connected with the Colon Cancer Alliance?
So the first couple of people I met were Kim Newcomer and Joy Friedman. They reached out to me and said that they were part of the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, and because I had said pretty much immediately that I wanted to get involved with an organization and start spreading the word about trying to prevent this, especially for younger people, because without that blood test in spring training, it would have gone on longer, I think, to the point where it would have been stage 4 when I got diagnosed. So I do feel really lucky in a sense that I, play baseball and get blood tests so often. So, I want to help others who might have it and they don't know and can prevent it because it's a very treatable disease if you catch it early.
You've already become a pretty impressive spokesman. This is quite remarkable.
I appreciate it. Yeah, obviously something I've become passionate about, and it's unfortunate, but I'm really proud to be a part of it. And I know some people, it's not it's not ideal to talk about your colon and everything like that, but you have to spread awareness. I mean, you can't be afraid to talk about it and start spreading the word.
No one likes to talk about their colon. That's part of the problem.
Yeah. But, luckily I'm not too shy of a person, so I don't really mind talking about it.
I mean, have you given any thought to like what would have happened had you not gone in for the screening?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, again, 27, 28-year-old, I'd like to think that I go to the doctor by myself if I didn't play baseball, but I can't honestly say that I would, because you think that you're healthy by all accounts, and you know, you very well cannot be. So it really can happen to anybody. It does not discriminate. And again, if you can catch it early, it's very preventable, but it's a very scary disease.
What are the doctors? What are they telling you? I mean, you look great. You sound great. Like, are they telling you that, you know, a few more treatments, then we'll see you back on the field?
Yeah. So right now it's, you know, we're full steam ahead. I've got 5 more treatments. And then, you know, my oncologist is really encouraged by everything she's seen so far, and thinks that, yeah, I'll be able to get back on the field after that's over. And that's definitely my goal. I want to be out there opening day 2021. So, you know, obviously that's taken a huge back seat right now, and I haven't even really thought about baseball too much, but my ultimate goal is definitely to be back out there next year. And I'm going to do everything I can as far as, you know, diet, you know, changing some things up. I think I'm going to cut out some red meat, things like that, you know, which is tough for me. It's like one of my favorite things in the world, but, you know, my health is definitely the most important. So I'm going to try to do everything I can control to you know, help my chances throughout the rest of my life.
Your diet before this, was it, I mean, you know, you're a professional athlete. I mean, I assume that the diet was probably pretty regimented. Was it not? Was it?
Oh yeah, it's definitely regimented, and I'd say it healthy, but it was very meat heavy, definitely. And I'm not saying that was the cause of it by any means, but I definitely have cut it out. I try to just eat it once a day now, and especially red meat too. It's just something that I never really watched, and it had always been a part of every meal, because I have a hard time like feeling full if I don't have meat, but I've kind of learned to trick my mind a little bit and change some things up. So right now, as I'm going through chemo, there are still some times, especially as I am coming off of not eating much for a few days after I get my treatments, I'll kind of let myself have a couple meals of what I'm craving, and then I get into the routine of eating healthy and eating how I kind of want to eat the rest of my life after this.
What's the chemo been like?
So it's definitely not ideal. So I'm doing the FOLFOX is the treatment. So it's oxaliplatin and 5-FU that goes through a port for a couple days. So the oxaliplatin, it causes a lot of cold sensitivity, and I think that's where most of my nausea comes from too, because I get home from the hospital on Mondays and I'll be really flushed, and I'll get sick that night, and then I kind of feel better after that. But the cold sensitivity is definitely, I think, the worst part for me throughout all this. So anything I touch or drink or eat that's cold is like, it feels really, really cold, and it's definitely not ideal and pretty uncomfortable. So I've got that and some nausea and queasiness for a few days, but that I can handle fine. And I've learned kind of some remedies for that too. And my girlfriend here, I live with her, and she's been by my side the whole time. And
yeah.
You're
shacking up.
What's that?
You're shacking up, as my grandma would say.
Yeah. So we're here in DC, and So, and I really haven't been able to see my family much at all throughout all this too, which is a crazy part. So my girlfriend's been the one that's, you know, seen me on my worst days and been by my side the whole time.
You've referenced the girlfriend several times. Where is she?
She's on a run. She might be coming in here pretty soon. I'll try to get her to come over.
It'd be nice. We'd like to meet. We'd like to meet this young lady, because she certainly didn't sign up for this.
She absolutely did not. But yeah, we've been handling it really well, especially given COVID and going through chemo. It's, you know, it can definitely take a toll on you, but you know, we've been handling it well, and that's all a testament to her.
I mean, you've alluded to it a few times, and obviously all of this is happening against the backdrop of a global pandemic that we're still very much in the throes of. How has that affected you and the treatment, the recovery, and just all of it?
Yeah, so going to treatment, I have to go alone, which is how it should be at the hospitals. You want to limit, the amount of people that go into the hospital. So I go to treatment by myself, and then so that's a little weird, and wearing a mask the whole time. I feel like my respiratory system's in pretty good shape, as everybody else's probably is, listening in. So that it's been a wild few months for everybody, but especially going through chemo and recovery throughout all this. It's been pretty weird that the world kind of stopped at the same time. As it pretty much was in the middle of my surgery was when baseball got canceled. So it's just been really, really weird parallel between the two.
You scared?
No, not too much. I mean, I try not to think about, the future too much. I just take it day by day. And as cliche as that sounds, that's all you can really do. So I feel like baseball too has prepared me really well to handle this, and not that going through a slump in baseball is the same as what I'm going through, but on a smaller scale, it has taught me how to deal with things not going your way and controlling what you can control. So that's what I'm going to do from here on out, and I've learned to do that even before the diagnosis, but especially now. I think just focusing on what I can control is the best and healthiest way to go through this.
This shortened season, how are the Orioles looking?
Anything can happen in this season. It's going to be crazy. I mean, I hope everybody, stays healthy and nobody tests positive. But on the flip side, it's hard to imagine that there's not going to be some sort of at least minor outbreak on a team. So if your best player goes down, it is almost for half the season. So it's going to be the name of the game is going to be staying healthy.
Right.
For these teams and keeping everybody, quarantined, everybody doing their job off the field, not to go out too much or be anywhere that they shouldn't. Everybody's got to be really disciplined and quarantine themselves. And it's tough, for 2 months, a lot of people are away from their families and it's not an easy thing to do, but yeah, staying COVID free is really going to be the key to having a good season for a lot of teams, and it can be anybody's game.
Trey, not to pour water on all of this, but my in-laws are in Northern Virginia. They're in Fairfax, and they were at the Nationals like opener like 10, 15 years ago when the team became a team, and they saw the hatching of the mascot. So I lived in DC for a number of years and became a Nationals fan. And my wife, who's a sports reporter, was at all of the World Series games. I went to 3 or 4, and we were at Nat Stadium. And it was me and Lindsay, my wife, and our son. Our daughter was too young to be there, and we're in the elevator, like going up to the seats, and Cal Ripken Jr. comes onto the elevator, and he recognizes my wife. Obviously not me. He doesn't watch the Today Show. Cal Ripken Jr. has always struck me as a Good Morning America guy.
Yeah.
And he gets on. He's like, "Hey, Lindsay, how are you? Blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Oh, shit, it's Cal Ripken Jr." And Lindsay says hello, and they exchange pleasantries. And Cal Ripken Jr. says, "Oh, your son, what's his name?" And he's like, "Dell." And at that point, Dell's 5. And Dell, my son, my 5-year-old, waves. I said, "Dell, it's Cal Ripken Jr." And he says, "Hi, Mr. Ripken, nice to meet you. Go Nats." He's wearing his hat. He's like, "Go Nats." And at that point, Cal gets off the elevator. I'm like, "Oh, shit." I couldn't tell my 5-year-old son.
Yeah, I mean, he probably thought that he was a Nats fan. He was at the Nats game.
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, right?
In his 6+ years on Earth, it's been his most awkward moment that he doesn't even know.
Yeah. Cal's a bigger dude than you would think, too, for being a shortstop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the first time I met him, I couldn't believe how big he was.
I've got to turn things over here in a second to Michael. He's going to take some poll questions and do some other questions here. But for folks who are on the Zoom call, what do you want them to know, Trey? Like, what's the message here for you?
Well, I know a lot of the people that are on, are closely associated, with the organization and had the disease themselves. So it's been so amazing throughout this process to talk to people who have been through something similar, and kind of know what I'm going through. And it's really helped me a lot. So, all the support has been amazing. So I just want to thank all of you for being on this call and supporting this organization. And hopefully, one day we'll find a cure for this. And we're making strides all the time. I know, and I just want to thank you all so much.
Well, thank you. Thanks for becoming one of our voices here. Mr. Sapienza, I first of all, I apologize for my profanity. I know that on Zoom, it's not acceptable to use that kind of language. So my apologies to all of the kids who have logged on.
No worries. Thank you, guys. I'm going to just talk a little bit about kind of the Alliance and where we are right now. And then I think we're going to take a couple questions and then we'll wrap it up. But obviously, Craig, you touched on the pandemic, and obviously Trey, you talked about being diagnosed during the pandemic. And we have, some of our strongest supporters here on this call who have all, like you, Craig, your brother, you, Trey, yourself, Reagan, you, your grandmother, me, my mom, and we all kind of know the process of, going to chemo, going to get surgeries, going to do all these things. And the biggest thing I can say right now that, the Alliance is dealing with in terms of our navigators and talking to patients is the fact that they're having to go alone. So, Trey, you may think that that's normal, right? Because obviously you're in the pandemic, right? But for people like my dad, who went with my mom every single chemo treatment and every surgery, they had their little outing for dinner afterwards, patients aren't able to do that. And it is devastating them from a psychosocial perspective. So, I just want to say we started this Care for COVID fund, for our patient and family services piece. And we've seen about a 30% uptick in the need for our services. And, it's mainly around those types of things, like the psychosocial pieces, the fear, the anxiety, all those pieces, is my chemo getting canceled? Is my surgery getting delayed? Is my clinical trial being canceled? Is my, scans being delayed by 2 months? Now, I will say a lot of that was early on in the pandemic, the first couple months, et cetera. And I think we've seen, a really big kind of uptick in those things happening, but it's still incredibly hard. So, whether we're talking about our, live chats or scheduled chats, all the different things that our navigators do to support patients, it's like we need them more than ever right now. And, it's the additional resources that we have that I think have made a big difference in patients' lives over the last couple months.
Michael?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you, in the middle of all of this, in terms of screenings, I know that's such a huge focus for the group. Like what have we seen with screenings because of the pandemic?
Yeah, thank you. Segue. So there have been about, in March to June, there was about a 90% decrease in colorectal cancer screenings.
Wow.
We've seen an uptick, Greg, since then in endoscopy suites opening up. Obviously, like New York had a complete shutdown, and now we're getting back up. It depends on where, the locale. We're hearing that in more suburban and rural areas, they're starting to have a bigger uptick. But as you can probably imagine, Florida, Arizona, Georgia, Texas, California, and some other places now are starting to shut down again. So, there's been some data that said there'll be an additional almost 5,000 deaths due to COVID-19, RE colorectal cancer. So, the Alliance has taken a huge leadership position here with the National Colorectal Cancer Roundtable and a bunch of other groups. We're launching a public awareness campaign that will be geared towards individuals and geared towards primary care to get people like going back to the doctor and or getting a FIT test or a Cologuard, right? There's these at-home tests that now people can take. And then we're actually developing a navigation website. So not only can they learn about the screenings, but they actually can be navigated through this website to actually get screened. So I think, Craig, to answer your question, it's going to be a problem for a while. Until we have a vaccine and that vaccine is widely implemented, there's still going to be lots of people that are worried. And I think the biggest thing that we can do is how do we, like, say someone like you, like yourselves, both of you, right? And even me, who have family history, how do we get them in? Like they have to go in to get screened, or else the number of diagnoses will keep going up or be delayed, et cetera. So how do we kind of like risk stratify the number of people? So do they have blood in their stool? Do they have, you know, X, Y, and other symptoms? Get them in immediately. And then for people that are average risk, just, you know, folks that didn't know about it, can we get them in to get a FIT test or a Cologuard, and then have a follow-up colonoscopy? So the last thing I just wanted to talk a little bit about is our in-person events. And our Blue Hope Bash, which Craig knows a lot about. So you can probably imagine the Alliance has had unfortunately, some impact from these in-person events. We have probably 30 of our own in-person events a year, and then probably, I don't know, Reagan, 100 others that other individuals do. And most of these have been canceled. And so for organizations like ourselves or American Cancer Society, it's been hard. It's been really hard. So how do we come up with, you know, other ideas on how to raise revenue? And, you know, we are doing that. We have a lot of other, luckily, industry supporters, individuals, major donors like those that are on the phone, people like you guys that are supporting us financially, because, you know, patients need us more than ever. And I would just, you know, kind of close with one story, and then I'll talk a little bit about the bash. So Craig, you know Diana Zepeda, right?
Yeah.
You've interviewed her multiple times, and she hasn't, besides to go to chemo by herself, has not left her house. Doesn't go to the store, doesn't do anything, because she's sick. And, you know, it's like, it's so hard to think about these people. They need us from a psychosocial perspective. They need to be talking to somebody. And you think about it, if this pandemic goes on until, you know, next March, April, May, June, you know, what does that mean for them and how they live? You know, some doctors are saying, go live, but, you know, right now patients can't. They're immunocompromised and they have to be at home, especially ones that are at high risk. So I want to talk a little bit about the bash. It is October 24th. It's a Saturday. We are going virtual. So Craig, I don't know if you knew that yet, but now you know.
I did. That's why I'm wearing my blue shirt. I'm ready.
Okay, awesome. So one night, we're calling it One Night. I have to read this. One Need, One Night, One Nation. As you can imagine, this is going to be, I think, pretty awesome. So you know how Stand Up to Cancer does a telethon type thing? That's the way we're going to go, get additional celebrities, have probably 30, 45-minute program. People like you, Trey, I hope you will. I know Avi and others across the country will be setting up small dinners in their own houses. So hopefully in places, obviously, that don't have strong lockdowns, we'll be able to celebrate and kind of have it interactive, probably both ways. Yes, hearing some live entertainment, maybe some comedians, obviously some inspirational videos, because as I mentioned, between, you know, the slowdown in research, slowdown in clinical trials, the effect on patients, and this screening piece, which Craig, thank you for asking, because I think it's the most important thing right now is, you know, we've got to raise money, and we have to continue to raise money to be able to do that. So, I'm really looking forward to it. I know Reagan is, as much as we want to see you in person, Craig, on October 24th in DC, you'll probably be happy you don't have to leave your house. So, yeah. Any questions from you guys? If not, I want to open it up to the folks that are listening. You can put your questions into the chat, and or Reagan, raise your hand. I don't know exactly how to do that, but
yeah, probably just typing questions into the chat would work the best.
Reagan, what's with the bowling pins over your shoulder?
Everyone asks about them. They're antiques I got a year or two ago. I like old is new again, and they are definitely a good conversation starter.
Do you bowl? Are you a big bowler?
No, but they're kind of cool.
Nice looking decoration.
Thank you.
I think you should start bowling.
I will make note of that. I'll report back.
And I'll pay her to see her bowl.
Oh yeah, he would. Anything to make the boss laugh, right?
Yes, seriously. All right. Any questions from the audience? If not, here we go. We got one. What can we do to help with fundraising and awareness, raising missions in the months ahead? Reagan, you want to answer that one?
Sure. So this honestly, my answer to this isn't really changed in this COVID pandemic world, but we are always very grateful for any opportunities that our community can present to us to open doors. So introducing us to either foundations or companies or individuals that have an interest in our cause and the good work that we're doing. I often say that, when you're taking a meeting with someone, it's not necessarily that person that you need to be talking to, but it's the next person that they can open a door to. So continuing to field all of those opportunities and to have conversations with people about the good work that we're doing, I think is so important, whether it's via Zoom or even just phone calls. While we can't be together, we have to continue to pursue all those opportunities and to find additional sources of revenue. And all of our supporters are great about kind of working their Rolodexes and helping us make those connections. And yes, Craig.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. We just got a question from John Backus that I wanted to make sure we got to. I apologize.
Perfect. Yeah, so John is saying, Pilar wants to make sure you marry this amazing girlfriend. And John is saying that Pilar is wearing the pendant that she won at the Bash last year, and she says hello. So very good.
Has the girlfriend come home yet, Trey?
No, I'm waiting. I just texted her to see where she's at.
Yeah, I hope she didn't get lost. It's like 94 degrees outside.
I'm using her computer. Her mom tried FaceTiming her, so that's if you heard the ring for a second, that's what that was. So, yeah, I'm not sure where she is, but I'll if she gets home soon, I'll put her on screen.
How long have you been dating?
About a year.
Is she the one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's been like a little under a year, but yeah, I would have said yes even otherwise, but yeah, especially after the last few months. Again, I wouldn't be doing well without her. So she's definitely kept me sane throughout all this.
When do you plan to propose to her?
I don't know about that. I think that's a ways away.
Craig's like pushing. He's like,
listen.
It's ways away a little bit. Actually, Craig, she works for NBC Sports.
What?
Yeah. She's on a show called The Daily Line. So
What's her name?
Sarah Perlman.
Oh, I know your girlfriend.
Yeah. So it's Sarah.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
Oh, what a small world.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep.
We have a lot in common, me and you. I married a woman who knows more about sports than I do.
Yeah, she knows more than me too, especially in the sports betting sphere. She's much better at football lines and everything. I'm definitely not the guy.
I will tell you this though, as someone who's been married to a sports journalist for about a decade now, the only tricky part is when you're watching sports with her, like, watching football on the weekends and like she's telling you stuff and you're like, okay, yes, okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
you get all the backstory information. She's gone to the Premier League lately too, though. She played soccer in college, so I've actually been loving watching the Premier League.
That's cool. Oh, wait, hang on, we got another question here. Trey, how can we help? How can we help you while you figure out your plan for getting the word out about colonoscopies and bouncing back from chemo when you finish? They want to know how they can help you.
Yeah, I think just start even spreading word of mouth or using social media is a great way to spread the word too. Right after I got diagnosed, it took a little bit of time out with COVID, but my sisters both went and got colonoscopies, and inspired them and I actually got a couple emails from some Orioles fans that said that they went and they had a family history that they didn't really know about until they saw my story, and then they started doing some more research, and then they went and got screened. And I know it's tough. I think COVID has made it a little bit tougher, like we were saying earlier. But yeah, I've been inspired so far about what I've seen just from the T-shirts and just from me spreading the word a little bit that some people have gone and gotten screened. So it's always good to hear. So I think just telling whoever you can to go do it is huge.
Demystification of the colonoscopy is a big deal. When I went and got mine, I said to the doctor after I came to, I said, you guys are really selling this wrong. this isn't going to go over well, I'm sure, in certain circles, but I said to the guy, I was like, you should sell the propofol experience. It's really not that bad.
It's not. It's not as bad as I thought. I remember when my dad was 50 and he got his first colonoscopy. I remember he made a big deal about it, and because he likes to eat too. So I remember us eating like a big family dinner, and he was sitting eating his Jell-O. He was just miserable. So I was like, oh man, I'm gonna dread doing this one day. But it's one day. You take one day out, and eat. You have clear liquids, and I feel like some places even let you eat some ice cream and stuff too. So, you have chicken broth for a day, and then it's worth it. You have a peace of mind when you get out of there, and if everything looks good, but you're just sacrificing one day. You can eat, have a nice big meal after.
I'm laughing at the comments.
Yes, colonoscopy should be about drugs.
Craig,
Put that on a t-shirt, Sapienza.
I know.
Drugs.
I thought you were going to say butts or something, or asses or something like that. Trey, I want to bring in, and Craig too, I want to bring your attention to this as Weez and Alto, who are very long time supporters. They unfortunately lost their son at a very, very young age to colorectal cancer, and have been amazing advocates to us. And they're asking you to visit Denver, which I'm sure you will once the pandemic's over and you're feeling better. But yeah, we have a very large contingent of allies there. So I think they would very much appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that about their son, but yeah, I mean, I love Denver. You don't have to tell me twice, to go out there. I went out there for the first time. Actually, I went to Breckenridge a couple years ago, but got to visit Denver last year when we played the Rockies. It's amazing. Loved it.
Yeah, they have a place. Oh, go ahead, Greg.
I was just going to say, Michael, what Trey's not saying is he's been several times since they legalized marijuana.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew it.
That's tourism in Denver has been up tenfold over the past 2 years.
I knew it. So, Craig, how was your brother? Not to change to a serious topic, but
I mean, he's not great, but he's still fighting, and it's
good.
Pandemic hasn't. We've been talking about the effects of it, and he can't go to MD Anderson like he had been. He's doing his protocol in Greenville, South Carolina, and he's gotten a scan there as well, and but so much of it's peace of mind, and so much of it's like just being comfortable with your doctor, and he's not as comfortable with the doctors there as he was with Scott Kopetz in Houston. So it's a trying time for him, and he's lost a lot of weight, and but he's still kicking. He's fighting. But thank you for asking.
Yeah, of course. And if there's anything I can do, even for folks in South Carolina, to connect him with people, or I'm sure that Scott has told him to do some sort of, is he doing telemedicine with Scott? Okay, good. All right, I think we have one. Trey, I hate that you have gotten this disease, but I'm excited to help you get the word out about how important it is to get the message. How do we make this disease as important as some of the other causes? Look forward to partnering with you and spreading the word. So Trey, Avi is one of our wonderful supporters and board members. He unfortunately lost his wife, Michelle, who was, I think, Avi, was she 40? I think 49 when she died. And he's been doing an amazing job at raising awareness. Actually, he wants us to he has these Michelle bags. He created these bags called Michelle bags for people during chemo. So I have to get you one. He will get mad at me if I don't do that.
Thanks. But yeah, to answer the question too, I know there's so many diseases and so many great causes out there to support, but colorectal cancer, is it second or third most common cancer?
Second for men and women combined. Yeah.
That in itself, the amount of people that it impacts, I think can help spread the word, and that right there makes it so important, since it affects so much of the population.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, by the way, as you know, Michael, a colon cancer survivor, she within the last hour or two is out of the hospital. So some good.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
I saw she was up at Hopkins. Yeah.
She has like 15 lives, Craig. It's just
yes, she does.
Unbelievable. Really.
I met her. I've met her once about 3 or 4 years ago. We were on a flight. Actually, we were going down to DC, and she was up here for a speaking engagement. and saw her, and she was seated right behind us. And she's a short lady. And I said to her, I was like, oh, Justice Ginsburg, it's an honor to meet you. Thank you so much for your service. And I was going on. And after I was done with my spiel, she said to me, she's like, I'm not dying. I'm not dying. I'm going to be around.
God, that's amazing.
I was like, all right.
Okay, she told you. All right, so closing remarks. Can I just ask you Trey, I think I've asked you this before, but what would you say to patients, and what inspires you? And Craig, same for you as a caregiver, whoever wants to go first.
I'll start with Trey.
Yeah, well, I mean, having a good support system, I think, is the name of the game when you go through this. It's something that you can't go through alone. I've referenced my girlfriend a million times. So I'll do it one more. I couldn't do this without her. And even just talking to my family. I mean, I talk to my parents just about every day. I'm really close with both of my sisters and talk to them all the time too. So having all them has helped tremendously. And especially talking to a lot of people who have had colon cancer and are colon cancer survivors, that really has helped me to hear their stories and it's given me strength and kind of helps me see some light at the end of the tunnel here, because it's not easy going through chemotherapy at all. And it's not anything that I thought I'd have to deal with. Still sometimes, I just can't believe it, but then I snap out of it and, stop feeling sorry for myself. But having some strong people around you is definitely, it makes you better.
Michael, I would just say that, what we're doing now and what the Alliance facilitates and encourages by just having these conversations, like people just talking about colorectal cancer and talking about awareness and talking about getting screened. And I'm always amazed anytime we do one of these stories at the number of people we hear from who have a family history or who are motivated to go get checked. They go get checked and they find out that, they either had colorectal cancer or there were some polyps found that could lead to it. I think that what you, and I've said this to you before, I think that what you guys are doing is God's work, and the demystification of colorectal cancer, because the reality is it's not a sexy disease. And one of the major reasons that people don't talk about it and they don't go get their colonoscopy is because it's just so meh. Mm-hmm. And you guys, in just the last few years I've been working with you, like you really have gone above and beyond to demystify it. And we just got to keep doing that. So thanks to everyone on this call who's doing that. And thanks to Mr. Mancini, who is using the platform for good. I hope the Orioles have a solid season. Not too good of a season, but a solid season.
I appreciate that.
You may not know this, Trey, and I this isn't like to brag or boast in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but one of my crowning professional achievements has nothing to do with journalism. One day I was sitting at my desk and I got a call from MLB, and there was a guy on the other end. He's like, "Hey, I heard you're a Nationals fan. Would you be interested in being the voice of the World Series documentary?"
No way.
And I hung up the phone. I said, "Let me call you back." And I hung up the phone and I called my wife. I was like, "Hey, is this a joke? Did you call? So I called the guy back. And he's like, no, we're being serious. If you ever, and I'm sure you won't watch it, but if you ever watch the Nationals World Series documentary, it's my voice, and I didn't charge a fee, and I did all I could do, like not to cry in the tracking booth while I was voicing it. And we go down to DC and we're watching it. It's me and Lindsay sitting next to like Ryan Zimmerman, Mr. National. And I said to Lindsay afterwards, I was like, I could die now. Like this, it gets no better than this.
Wow. Yeah. I'll definitely watch the documentary. I mean, it's my like biggest dream is to win the World Series. So it'll give me some inspiration. But to tell you the truth, I actually was a Nats fan before I got drafted by the Orioles. My mom's from Bowie. Yeah, my mom's from Bowie, and I'm a huge, Washington sports fan, every sport.
How long's your contract in Baltimore?
So after this year, I've got 2 more years there. So I've got two more years of arbitration, and then I'm a free agent. So I don't want to, say anything in that regard. But when I was growing up, from the time they moved from Montreal in 05, I went to games at RFK when I was visiting my grandparents. So I was previously a Nationals fan back in the day. So
okay, and you'd be familiar with the stadium because it's essentially the same as Camden Yards.
Yeah.
Sorry, Michael, we've gone over.
All right, guys.
We veered off the topic. My apologies.
No worries. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to all that joined us. Have a great day. Stay safe, Craig, Lindsay, Trey, you as well.